okay? I'm going to show you some pictures of these are classic movie character friends. Okay, these movie characters are friends, and your job is to tell me what movie is being represented by the pair on screen. Okay, got it? It's very simple. I think you guys are going to crush this. First one. Okay. That's not quite where. Wrong series, all right? Wrong series. All right, what? How to Train Your Dragon. Live action. Yeah. Okay, I have a 7-year-old, and he is obsessed with How to Train Your Dragon, so we watched this, and now he doesn't fully understand like what live action is, so now every movie that has real people in it, he's like, live action. I was like, oh, no, that's not quite right. Okay, Justin, do me a favor, you can go in any order you want, but the last one, make sure that one's the last one. All right, what's next? Oh, you have that as a shirt? That exact picture? Nice. Like, what? Shrek and Donkey. All right. Yes. I mean, his name is the name of the movie. It is Shrek. Good job. Shrek 1, 2, 3, the Christmas edition, Halloween. They're just like we're gonna get all of our money out of Shrek. Okay. What's the next one? Spider-Man. Yeah. Spider-Man. Good old Ned and Peter. Okay. Next one. Yeah! But what's the movie, guys? Thank you. I knew you knew it, but I needed to hear it. Okay, I needed to hear it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. But I needed to hear it. Yes. Classic. Again, Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4, the Christmas edition, Halloween, whatever. They're all out there. What's our next one? Oh, the last one. Yes, thank you. Did you guys know it over here? Okay, cool. I just heard a lot over here. Now here's the thing. We're gonna camp out on this movie for just a second because this is a great movie. This was one of my favorites. I had a friend growing up, and this was our movie. Okay, you'd come over, we'd be like, "What are we gonna watch?" And it was 9 out of 10 times it was like, duh, Sandlot. And then that one occasion where we weren't sure, it'd be like Sandlot. I'm like, nah. And then we go through all the other movies, which was like 12 because it was back in VHS. You couldn't just stream whatever you wanted. You had to have it. Physical copy right there. And then we would just go through all the other ones. We're like, nah, just Sandlot. Why are we pretending? Let's just watch this. Okay, if you've never seen this movie, I'm going to spoil a little bit of it for you. But it's okay. It's old. You can go watch it for yourself. I won't tell you everything. But basically, one of the characters in this movie, the kid in the middle with his shirt tucked into the pants. Okay, that kid right there. He's kind of nerdy. Okay, and in the beginning of the movie, he just moves to this town. It's like summertime, so he doesn't know anybody, and there's not really a chance to get to know anybody at school. Okay, and so he's kind of nerdy, so he likes to stay inside and do his own thing. And so his mom's like, "You got to get out." Okay, he's got a stepdad that he's like, you can tell that they're still kind of building a relationship with each other. His stepdad's obviously into baseball, but he is not. And so his mom encourages him to go out there and meet some friends, make some friends, and he does. He meets this group of guys right here. But again, it's very obvious. These guys hang out together, play baseball together. It's their thing. But he does not, okay? He does not play baseball. He's not good at it. But he gets to hang out with these guys. Now, on one particular day, these group of guys are playing, and the guy on the far left hits a ball, okay, and he busts it open, okay? And they're like, this is a sign, this is amazing. But then also the bad part is that they're like, we're out of balls, like we can't play baseball anymore. Well, the kid who's new to the group, he kind of takes this moment he's like, I could be the hero, right? I can kind of save the day, save this moment. And he's like, well, I got a ball at home. And they're like, go get it! And he runs and goes and gets the ball. But what he doesn't tell his friends is that he's going back home to his stepdad's like trophy closet or wall, and where he's got all this memorabilia, and we've learned at the beginning of the movie that this is a very special ball. It's signed by a famous baseball player. So he takes it, brings it to his friends, and he's like, let's play. And they're like, your ball, you hit first. And this kid who's not good at baseball actually hits the ball over into a backyard of a guy where there's like a killer dog back there. Killer dog, right? That's what they believe. Anyway, so they're like, the ball goes back there. They're like, all right, it's gone, we're moving on. But he's freaking out. He's like, no, we gotta get the ball back. And they're like, you don't get the ball back. Like, if it goes back there, it's gone. And he's like, we gotta get it back. He's like, it's an important ball. He was like, it was signed by someone. They're like, who? And he was like, someone named Ruth. Baby Ruth. And then all the other people who actually play baseball are like, Babe Ruth! And they freak out because Babe Ruth is very famous, and that is not a ball you should have been playing with. But here's the thing. I tell you all that to tell you this. This series Stick Together is all about friendship. And today we're going to talk about a little thing in our friendships called influence, okay? In that movie, when you see this kid and he runs off to get this ball that I think deep down he knew he wasn't supposed to be playing with. He knew it was important. He knew it probably wasn't something that he should be swiping to go play a backyard pickup game with. But what caused him to do that was influence. These people that he had made friends with, they were good friends, but they had influence in his life. And so before we, speaking of influence, I was trying to find like a definition for influence, and it said this: influence is the power or ability to affect someone's thoughts, behaviors, or development, or to shape events and outcomes, okay? It is the ability to affect someone's thoughts and behaviors and development. In this movie, in this moment, you watch, this group of guys had the ability to affect this one character's thoughts and actions. So where he thought, I can save the day, I can get this ball. And to the point where he actually went and swiped this this baseball signed by a famous baseball player and played with it in a backyard with his friends, okay? It's the ability to influence somebody, to affect their thoughts and their behaviors and their actions. And so, speaking of baseball, okay, a friend of mine, this was our favorite movie. He liked it because it was all about baseball, and he liked baseball. I liked it because it was just, I'm like, it's a good movie. And so every summer, this friend of mine tried to convince me to play baseball. He was like, you should play baseball with me. He played on a league like outside of our school, so it was he was like the only friend of mine that played baseball. But he's like, you should play, it'd be awesome. I was like, I don't want to. Finally, one summer, he convinced me. He's like, you should play baseball. I was like, all right, whatever. I was like, give me a glove, let's get a ball, let's play some catch, let's see how it goes. And I felt like he was going pretty well. I was like, oh man, this is kind of fun. I was like, maybe this is my thing, you know? And so I got in my first game. I didn't get to hit because the pitcher apparently wasn't very good. I thought he was good enough for me. I was like, I'm liking this, but everyone was like, he's terrible. So I didn't get to hit the ball, but I got to walk, okay? So I walked to first base, and then I ran to second, I ran to third. And third to home was exhilarating because I ran in, and I thought it was probably nowhere near close, but I slid in. I was like, oh, I had like dirt on my pants. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I could really do this. This is awesome. Well, we went to practice that week, and so I was practicing in the outfield, catching pop flies because they put me in right field, which for those of you who don't know baseball, if you are not good at baseball, they put you in right field, all right? So I was in right field, all right? So we're out there, and I'm practicing catching pop flies, and I don't know if this is true. For those of you who play baseball, I don't know, someone told me this, and so this is what I did. But I had my other hand like kind of behind my glove. They said like if it hits it, you can kind of catch. Okay, that's accurate. That's true. That's a real thing. Cool. So I was doing that. So I was catching a pop fly and had my hand there, and the ball went, like I just missed it, went over my glove and hit my pinky right on the tip. It just hit my hand. And it hurt. I was like, oh, that really hurt. And I didn't think anything of it, but I went over to pick up the ball, and I picked it up, and I like dropped it. And I was like, whoa, that was weird. And I picked it up again, and I couldn't hold it. And I was like, what is happening? And I looked down, and my pinky was like this. Boom, boom, boom. Like, it was, yeah. I'm pretty sure I went shocked, and I was like, oh. I went over to my friend, and I was like, is this? He was like, no, like, you need to go talk to coach right now. And I just went over to my coach. I was like, coach. And he was like, we need to call your mom. So, yeah, it was like clean break. It was not a fracture. It like just, yeah, it was off. So anyway, then I had to get surgery on it, and I had to have pins put in it, but they were like pins that were, sorry for those of you who are squeamish, they were like, part of them still stuck out, so they had to like wrap it up, and they were just like, hey, don't get it wet, or it could get infected. So all summer long, I just had this like thing on my arm that kind of exposed like surgery stuff, and I couldn't swim, I couldn't do nothing, I couldn't play baseball, I was just like stuck. And at that moment, I was like, to my friend, I was like, I really hate you right now. Like, you've ruined my summer, okay? But again, we're talking influence. That's influence. My friend influenced me to play baseball and ruined my entire summer. We were still friends for a very long time, okay? He's still a great guy. But here's the thing. That is influence. And I just want you to know, in this series, we're going to talk about friendship. And what you got to understand about friendship is every friend you have will influence you. Every friend you have will influence you. And I know that there's some people that like to push back on this a little bit, or again, maybe it's gentlemen, right? We just think we're tough. We're just like, no, I'm fine, you know? I've heard middle schoolers before talk about some of the people they hang out with and the things that they'll do. They're like, yeah, they party. Yeah, they'll drink. Yeah, they vape. Yeah, they use this kind of language. Yeah, they watch this kind of movies, but I hang out with them. I don't do those kinds of things. It's not that big of a deal. I promise you. They are influencing you. And some of us maybe are affected by that influence quicker than others. Maybe it's a longer time before we feel the effects of their influence. But here's the thing. I promise you, every friend will influence you. And I've just heard too many stories. The thing is, it only takes one time. It only takes one time, right? If you have somebody who's negatively influencing you and you say yes to the wrong things one time, that one time has the potential to change your life entirely. Every friend you have will influence you. And to be honest with you, you will also influence them. Influence is extremely, extremely powerful, and our friendships are extremely, extremely powerful. And the Bible has a lot to say when it comes to our friendships. And so we'll get to that in just a second. But here's the thing: when it comes to influence, it shows up in every relationship. Whether it's kind of an acquaintance, somebody you don't know all that well, or it's somebody close to you. There are people who have made like entire careers out of this. They're called influencers, okay? Right? They're out there just telling people what they should do, what they should buy. They're influencers, okay? I have there's a wonderful lady in the small group that my wife and I lead, and she came one day with like these gummies that were like they're green, so they're supposed to be like all the super greens that you don't want to eat, all the lettuce and the kale and all that stuff that you're like, this is rabbit food. Someone has put all that into a gummy and made it delicious, okay? But she was like, listen. She's like, I saw someone online and they talked about this. She was like, I bought like so many bags. She was like, my kids don't like them. Okay, so I just have these bags. I don't know what to do with. I personally found them quite delicious. I was like, these are candy, man. I was like, I was loving it. Okay, but she bought a bunch of these because she was influenced to buy them. That's the world we live in. We experience that all the time. Now, I do think we can be influenced by anybody, but I do think the people closest to us have more influence in our life. It's a little bit like tug of war. If you've ever played tug of war or seen it, you know what it is, right? Two teams, two people. The best kinds of tug of war is when there's like a mud pit in the middle, and if you lose, like, it's going to be obvious. That's the best kind of tug of war. But here's the thing. Your relationship with your friend and how influence works is a lot like tug of war. It's just a matter of who's influencing more. And so that's why it's really important who you spend your time with and who you let influence you and who you influence and how they influence you and how you influence them. All of that matters. Because here's the thing. If you're not wise about who's influencing you and how you're being influenced, your relationships might end up leading you to a place that you did not want to go and you had not planned on going. It's really, really important who you hang out with. And that's what this series is all about. We're going to talk about friendships because friendships are extremely important. And the Bible has a lot to say on our friendships. And so I want to look at a verse. A lot of what we're going to talk about throughout this series is going to come from a book of the Bible called Proverbs. Everybody say Proverbs? Proverbs. It's a great book, okay? You should read it, all right? There's 31 chapters in there. You can almost read a chapter a day. And it's a chapter, when I say chapter, it's like half a page, okay? You should read it. And there's just great wisdom in there. And I would say most of it is really, really easy to understand, okay? It's just like, do this, don't do that, right? Wise people do this. You're like, that makes sense. They're like, foolish people do this. You're like, that makes sense, okay? I'll do that and I won't do that. It's great. It's great wisdom. And there's a lot in there that talks about the people we hang out with. And so I want to look at one. This is Proverbs chapter 12, verse 26. It says, the righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. There's another translation of that first part. It says, the godly are cautious in their friendships. And it just says the wicked will lead them astray. The godly are cautious in their friendships. The righteous choose their friends carefully. Right? And you see that and think, well, you mean I get to choose my friends? You absolutely get to choose your friends. You get to choose who you spend time with. You get to choose who you let influence you. You get to choose who you're going to influence and who you're going to spend your time with. Okay? You absolutely get to choose. And the Bible tells us that the wise will choose carefully. There's another verse where I think it's going to come up in this series. It's another one in Proverbs, but it talks about how when we walk with the wise, we become wise. But a companion of fools suffers harm. And I do think it's an interesting verse how it says, if you walk with the wise, you will become wise. It doesn't say if you walk with a fool, you'll become a fool. It just says you will suffer harm. And if some of you have probably seen this play out in someone else's life. Maybe you had a friend who you were really close with, and all of a sudden they started to change. They stopped talking with you, started doing things that you're like, this doesn't make sense. But then you find out that they're hanging out with other people. And once you find out who they're hanging with, you're like, it all makes sense. But you just watch them change, and you watch their life change, and you watch them suffer harm and experience things that they don't want, you would never want for them. Be wise about the people you spend time with because friendships are powerful and influence is powerful. And so we see this. You can go anywhere in the Bible. You can find all kinds of stories where you're going to see people who this plays out in a negative way. They let the wrong person influence them. But there are places in the Bible where you will also find the opposite, where it played out for good. And so I want to take you guys to Acts chapter 18, okay? Acts chapter 18, the book of Acts is kind of a timeline. It's the start of the early church. There's a lot of great stuff in there. It's Paul's missionary journeys that he went on. You can kind of travel with him and see what he did and where he went. But in Acts chapter 18, it's titled Paul Meets Priscilla and Aquila. Okay, so Priscilla and Aquila, it's a husband and wife couple, and Paul meets this couple. And Acts chapter 18, verses 1 through 4, you kind of see that they have a common interest. This couple, they're tent makers, and Paul is also a tent maker, so they kind of bond over this tent making. They probably spend a lot of time around each other because of their trade in tent making. But because they spent a lot of time together, they really grew close together. And again, you see how they influenced each other. I'll bet Priscilla and Aquila influenced Paul, but I know Paul influenced them. They got to spend a lot of time with Paul, maybe one of the greatest Christians who's ever lived. And he did incredible things. And they got to travel with him for a little bit and spend a lot of time with him. So you can see how, again, the story's pretty short, so it doesn't go into great detail. But you just know them spending time with Paul, that he influenced them. And they learned a lot from him. And then in Acts chapter 18, if you carry on to verse 18 through 28, you see where Paul leaves the area that he's in, and it says that he takes Priscilla and Aquila with him, and they continue to travel with him on their journeys. Now, eventually they stop traveling with them, but on their journey, Priscilla and Aquila run into a guy named Apollos. And this is what it said about Apollos. It said, "Meanwhile, a Jew named Apollos, an eloquent speaker who knew the scriptures well, had arrived in Ephesus from Alexandria in Egypt. He had been taught the way of the Lord, and he taught others about Jesus with an enthusiastic spirit and with accuracy. However, he only knew about John's baptism." So what we see here is that Paul is a great communicator, and he's going around telling people about Jesus, and Priscilla and Aquila see this, but they notice that he doesn't have all the information. So what they notice is that they see a guy who's got the talent, who's got the passion, who clearly is being used by God, but again, because they've spent time with Paul, who is a former Pharisee, who knew tons about the Bible, who knew tons about the Old Testament scriptures, and met Jesus, and now goes around talking about Jesus in the Old Testament scriptures as well. All right, they learned from him, and so they knew Apollo doesn't have all the information. He could be so much more if he just knew all this stuff. So the story tells us that they pulled Apollos aside, and they taught him, and they poured into him. So you see Paul's influence in Priscilla and Aquila's life, and then you see them take that influence and take it to Apollos. And we get to see by the end of this that Apollos travels on, and he teaches and preaches, and people are impacted by him. I'm telling you stuff you already know how influence works, but Paul influenced Priscilla and Aquila. They turn around and influence Apollos, and Apollos turns around and influences a bunch of other people. And it's all for God's glory, to advance God's kingdom and to tell people about Jesus. So you see how influence can work positively in this world, and how influence can work positively in people's lives, and why it's important to spend time with the right people, right? Because for good or bad, our friendships have the power to shape us. They shape what we like, how we think, and how we behave, and even what we believe. So every friend we have, guys, is going to influence us. Every friend we have. Every friend you spend time with, whether it's for a season or it's a long season, whatever it is, whether they've been your friend for many, many years, your friends when you were kids, or you just met them, every friend will influence you. And so, with the time I have left, I'm going to wrap up here quickly. I got a couple thoughts for you, and some of this you're going to get the opportunity to work on during small group. Okay, you're going to get the opportunity to kind of work through this and think about it and talk about it with your small group. Talk about it with your small group leader, because it's extremely, extremely important. And today is just the start of the conversation. We're going to be talking about this for weeks to come. So if you don't get to everything during small group time, that's all right. We got weeks ahead of us, so we can continue to talk about our friendships, because they're so incredibly important. And so as we wrap up today, I just want to give you 3 points. 3 things that I think you can do or think about that will help you as you kind of inspect the people in your life, and who you're hanging out with, and who you're letting influence you, and who you are influencing. And the first one is to take a friend inventory. Take a friend inventory. I encourage you guys to write down the names of the people that you're close with, the people that you would call friends, and then next to each name, you can write down a way that they influence you for good, or ways that they challenge you, and then ask yourself, am I becoming more like Jesus because of this friend? So you're getting an opportunity during a small group to do this. If you guys have time today, if you do it, if you don't get to it today, you can do it at home. All right. All you gotta do is draw a little stick figure of yourself. For those of you who are artists, you can just do whatever you want. But if you're not, just stick figure. It's just you, all right? Just put me if you have to. All right, so stick figure of you, and you write the names of the people that you would consider friends in your life, and then you write next to it like one word that describes how they challenge you, how they influence you. And then put a star next to the ones that you feel like influence you to grow in your relationship with Christ, and then write an exclamation point to the ones that you don't feel like, you're like, I don't think this one helps me grow in my relationship with Christ. Now here's the deal. Just because there's an exclamation next to that person's name does not mean that they're a bad influence, right? There are plenty of people that you can spend time with that can be a good influence, that can be time well spent with this person. But all you're saying is this person, I wouldn't describe as them helping me grow in my relationship with Christ, okay? So you can do that during small group or take it home and do it, whatever you want. But I think it's helpful to take a friend inventory and look at your life and see who you're hanging out with. So it's kind of a friendship map. So you can see, hey, the people that are influencing me, what does this look like in my life? Because here's the deal. There's many different ways to say this. I've heard many great leaders say it different ways. A lot of great leaders, Fortune 500 company owner, like just really successful people. You would look at and be like, this is a successful person. They have said different versions of this, but there's like, show me your top 5 friends, or show me your top 3 friends, or like, show me your the one friend you hang out with the most, and I can predict your future. I can tell you what your future is going to look like just by the people that you're hanging out with. It's really, really important. So take a friend inventory. Number 2, be the influence you want to see. Right? Be the influence you want to see. Pick, again, you're going to be talk about this during small group time, but challenge yourself to find one person on your list or one person you can think about that you can be a positive influence in their life. So pick one person you can be a positive influence. Pick someone you can encourage, or maybe somebody you can encourage them not to do something. Hey, don't gossip. Don't talk about people like that. Don't make fun of other people. How can you be the influence you want to see? And here's the thing, guys. This can work both ways, right? This could be something you want to do, or maybe something you don't want to do or don't want to be a part of. I had a friend growing up, and I really enjoyed hanging out with him. He was a great guy, but sometimes he would hit me up and be like, "Do you want to come? You want to have a sleepover and we'll stay the night?" And I'd be like, "No," because I was like, I like my own bed. Okay, I was like, even as a high schooler, I was like, I like my own bed. I like to sleep. I was like, I'm not a huge fan of overnights, because then I feel like I sleep on the floor, and I'd be like, that wasn't comfortable. Anyway, but I'm also a little bit of a people pleaser. Any of you guys feel you like people pleasers? Okay, cool. You just raised your hand because I told you, and you're like, well, I'm not going to do it because he told me to do it, all right? I'm a little bit of a people pleaser, so I don't like to say no. I don't like to tell people no. It makes me feel bad. And so I'd have this friend, and I'd be like, I don't really want to, but I feel bad telling you no. But when I finally got the courage to be like, listen, dude, I don't really want to stay the night. He would kind of, I don't know if you'd call him making fun of it, he'd be like, oh, okay. I guess you don't want to hang out with me. I guess we're not friends. You don't really like spending time with me. Got to guilt trip you a little bit. I didn't like that, okay? Because as a people pleaser, I'm like, hey, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it, but I said no. It took a lot of effort to say no. And so that's a pet peeve of mine, okay? So for me, I'm like, I don't turn around and do that to other people, all right? Again, great friend. I enjoyed spending time with him, but that one little thing, I was like, that drives me crazy. And it's not just him. When other people do that too, it drives me crazy. So that's one of those things where I'm like, I don't do that to other people because I don't like the way it feels for me. I don't like the influence that I feel from it. So I try to influence other people in different ways. So be the influence you want to see. Number 3, before I say yes, pause, okay? Before you say yes to anything, pause. If you have a friend who's inviting you to do something, I just encourage you to pause and just ask yourself some questions. Hey, is this wise? Okay, do I actually want to do this, or do I feel like I'm being pressured to do this? The thing that we're about to do, or the place we're about to go, is this going to help me grow closer to Jesus, or is this going to take me further away from Jesus? Ask yourself, if Jesus was sitting right here with me, would I be like, let's go, come on, Jesus, let's go watch this, let's go to this place, let's go hang out with these people? Would you want to invite Jesus with you if he was standing right there in person? Now, he's not necessarily there in person, but he is there. He is there with you. But stop and ask yourself just any version of those kinds of questions, okay? Just pause and ask yourself some questions before you say yes. Because sometimes, it might feel silly in the moment, but it can be a huge deal. It can be a huge deal when it comes to the people you're letting influence you. Listen, guys, every friend will influence us. Every friend. And that's not just for you in middle school. That is the same for every adult in this room, myself included. The people we spend time with will influence us and have the ability to change the way we think, to change the way we act, to change the way we behave. That's what influence is. And the people you hang out with have that ability. You also have that ability with other people as well. And so my hope and my prayer and your small group leader's prayer is that every single one of you will be out there influencing people. And when they talk about you, they'll put the star next to your name. They influence me in a way that helps me grow closer to Jesus. They influence me in a way that challenges me to grow and to be a better version of myself. We hope that's you. We hope that's you, and we pray that that's you as you leave here today and you go back to your schools and you go back to sports or whatever it is you're doing. We hope that when people talk about you, they're putting a star by your name and you're influencing people for the better, because every friend will influence us, and we also have the power to influence others. Let me pray for us. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for who you are, and we thank you for the friend we have in Jesus. Lord, we just want these students and everybody spending time with you, because we know influence works both ways, and the more time we spend with you, the more you're going to influence us, and you're going to help us grow in our understanding of who you are and the plan you have for our life, and how much you love us. So help us to just be constantly spending time with you and finding ways to engage in a relationship with you. But God, we just pray that you'll help us. You'll help us navigate our friendships wisely. Help us, like the verse says, to choose our friends wisely. So we're not flippant with who we hang out with and who we let into our life and who we let influence us, because the people we let into our life are going to influence us, and we want that to be for the better. And also help us, God, as we leave here today, to be a positive influence on others. We want to be the kind of people that people are putting stars next to and saying, this person helps me grow. This person challenges me. They're good for me. I want to spend more time with this person. They lift me up. Like I'm encouraged when I'm around them. And most importantly, we hope they'll say, they help me grow closer to Jesus when I'm with them. Lord, help us to be people like that. We love you, God, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.